So this time of year, a lot of people are on vacation, and sometimes that means that you might be the only person in your office with access to your data, and your director comes to you with a last minute question and hopes to get some quick information about the number of clients you've seen or the number of services you've provided. We wanted to provide you with a little orientation to some of the tools you can use in the Pinnacle cubes to answer those questions that you get at the last minute when you're the only one in the office. So here's Gary Clark introducing some of those tools in Excel.
Great, thank you, Ginger. And so I've connected already on this system, and I've created a pivot table. Now you notice I've clicked out here out into the background, and so I don't have any fields or anything to look at. And that's if you're first time user, that's always frightening. Just go back over here and click inside the pivot table, and up will come your field list. I'm going to go ahead and collapse this down so that it's not so big. And I just wanted to take, maybe 10 minutes here and just do some quick things. As Ginger said, you may be getting requests for data. It seemed like it was daily or at least minimal weekly occurrence at the agencies I've worked at in the past, where somebody needs to know, how many clients did we serve during a particular period who met certain criteria or were in certain programs. And we do that with a client distinct count. And so if I just put a check box there, you'll notice that it dropped that into the values automatically. I don't have to do anything. There's nothing special that has to be done. It knows that that's the only thing that can go in there. So any of these with the epsilon symbol next to them are measures. Those are things that can be counted, summed, divided, do statistical analysis on. We can run numbers of all different sorts, whatever we want to. So those are the numbers that we're working with: dollars, people, hours, minutes, that sort of thing. And in this case, I've collected a distinct count of clients. Now, what a distinct count means is that if, for example, we count the clients in services, each client will only be counted one time. And when I clicked on this client distinct count, you can see that we've seen 9,540 clients over all time. It doesn't tell us a lot, does it? This particular system is a credible system, and so rather than services, it uses the terminology client visit, but just know that a client visit is a service. It's the same thing. And so I'd like to slice and dice this data a little bit. The first thing I generally want to do is filter the data. And so in this case, what do we look at most of the time? We want to look at it by a fiscal year. So I'm going to take the fiscal year and I just click on it and drag it up into the filters. And now I can come over here and select which fiscal year interests me. I'll go ahead and select 2019, that's current. And you can see for the fiscal year, we've served 6,085 distinct clients. That's useful, but it's not as useful as it could be. Generally, the next question is going to be, well, how many did we see per month? All right. Well, that's pretty simple. We're in the client visit date dimension. Remember, the dimensions are what we slice and dice the data by. So the values, the measures, that's what we're going to slice and dice those with the attributes of the dimensions. The fiscal year is an attribute of the visit date dimension. In this case, I'm going to come down here and get the client visit year month and just drop that up into my columns. And now you can see that sorts it out. And just to talk a little bit about distinct counts and how they can sometimes be confusing, because Microsoft uses the term grand total. All right. Well, if I go across here and sum these numbers, I can tell that by this point I'm well past 6,000 clients. But what this means is that during July of 2018, we saw 2,464 clients. Over the entire year, we saw 6,085. So for any given cell, that's a distinct count of the clients that fit that criteria, that they fall into that cell, or it's often called a tuple, if you really want to geek out on this stuff. But Well, that's useful to a certain extent. We've got our clients. We're looking at the number of clients. Um, we've got the number of clients here, but it's not telling us a whole lot. So let's go down to the client visit dimension, the service dimension, and we're going to look at this. I don't know. Let's kind of start slicing and dicing this a little bit. And I'm going to bring in the service program. Now, because I have the dates in the columns, I'm going to bring the service program into the rows. And now you can see the same thing. So everything from access and registration down to therapeutic docket, we now see for every month of the year the number of clients that were seen in that program. And, you know, I mean, I've been talking, but we've been 5 minutes doing this. You could do it in about 30 seconds if you weren't narrating it as you go. So this is useful, but the great thing about pivot tables, and that's what we're using here, is we're using a pivot table to view the data inside the cubes. The great thing about pivot table is we can do exactly that. We can change the data just as fast as we want to. So for example, instead of looking at the service program, I can just as easily look at the service team. Apparently they don't have a team name in there. Let's see, what is this? Service type, service visit type. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so there's our service visits, the various service items. If you're in a profiler system, those are service items or CCP. And we can see all of those just like that. If we want to change the report from a client distinct count, it's very easy to do that. We just drag that value out and we don't have to drop it in any place special. And let's take a look at the number of services provided. So the client visit distinct count, we bring that in. And now we can see that for each of those services, how many of those services were provided. Great thing about the pivot tables though is that we can show data selected together. So I can come over here and I can drop in the client distinct count right next to the number of services. So I don't know, let's go down here to something I recognize. Okay, so med management. We gave 650 services to 573 clients, so you can see how useful that is. It's very easy to do this as well. We can do it either in the values, pull the clients out for just a minute because that just clutter things, but we can also bring this down into, combine the data in our rows. So, and by doing grouping. And so in this case, we have the service visit type. Let's bring back in the program, the service program, and just drop that in above and see by selecting it above, now we see for emergency services, all of the services that were provided. So you can see that very quickly, you can get the information that you need, for a quick report, a question from a board member, a question from your C-level staff, from upper management, a question from a clinician. How many clients did I serve last month? How many clients have I served in the past year? I think that's a good thing to even deliver to the clinicians in a report that shows their status in the agency, the value that they're providing, by giving them the number of clients that they're seeing on a monthly and an annual basis, the amount of service hours that they're providing to their clients. All of these things, help boost their morale in knowing that they're a vital part of the organization. And this is a very simple way to do it. We could also do this as charts. It's just as easy to do charts in this. All right, well, thank you all. I'll turn it back to Ginger then. Thanks.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks for joining us today. If you'd like for more information about Pinnacle or our cubes, please contact us at info@phidw.com or 971-409-6931. If you'd like to see more content, check out the rest of our YouTube page and hit subscribe to get notified when there are new videos. Thanks again.